It's a pandemic. It's the biggest pandemic. I say no to racism. Say no to racism. Hey! To all my wonderful people who are watching all over the world, Guyana, racism is a serious pandemic. We have to be very careful. The Creator created mankind to rule the earth. But when man controlling man, some get treated like dirt. Because of mankind's mentality and skin color, they classify the black skinned man as inferior. Slavery abolished many years ago, but racism continuing to grow. Racism is a crime to humanity. George Floyd's killing is an example for you and me. All you sing anything for me. No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No to racism. Respect skin color. No to racism. Let's love each other. No to racism. Stop the racial hate. No to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind does behave so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey, why the black-skinned man has to feel so much pain? Physically and mentally, he is on a strain. What I know is one race, the human race. But prejudice and discrimination takes its place. Your physical appearance and hair texture, causing hate and discrimination with human culture. Institutional racism is a nasty disease. So let's hope and pray one day these things will ease. All you sing it for me. No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No to racism. Respect skin color. No to racism. Let's love each other. No to racism. Stop the racial hate. No to racism. Let's go this way. The human mind does behave so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey. Oh Lord, when you have systemic racism, institutional racism, serious. When a white police officer kneel on a black man, and the whole world in protest start to take a stand, with a slogan saying Black Lives Matter. It's a tragic time in the US and world over. If you're not white, you're classified as colored. And the clear-skinned man think he is higher standard. Nuclear weapons and diseases shredding humanity and racism polluting society. No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No to racism. Respect skin color. No to racism. Let's love each other. No to racism. Stop the racial hate. No to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind, as the answer say, racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey. It's a system of advantage based on skin that creates violence and cause suffering. It causes division and hate among the human race. Just like COVID-19, race distancing is the case. All kinds of racism must be condemned. Black activists fought this system to the end. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, black civil rights leader, Mandela fought apartheid in South Africa. All you see, no, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. Sing. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. One more time. No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind just behave so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Yeah. Hey. Hit it. Hey. Now for those who like the homes, go to your neighbors, I love you. Go to your brothers and sisters, say I love you. Respect your texture. Respect skin color.
Oh, yes. Good evening and welcome again to Politics 101. David Hines here coming to you from Guyana, our country, Guyana. Coming in this evening with the music of Young Bill Rogers. No No to Racism. And there's a reason I played that calypso tonight. Reason I played that calypso tonight. You know, welcome. Let me just welcome everybody. I'm expecting Rickford Burke here tonight. I'm also expecting Lincoln Lewis. So we'll have company tonight. The brothers are expected to join me. Says program has ended. I don't understand. I don't understand. Let's get Rickford in here. Let's get Rickford in. Bear with me a moment while we get Rickford Burke situated. While we get Rickford Burke situated. Play a little bit more of. Let's play a little bit more of Young Bill Rogers.
Racism is a crime. to humanity. George Floyd's killing is an example for you and me. All you sing anything from it. No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No to racism. Respect skin color. No to racism. Let's love each other. No to racism. Stop the racial hate. No to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind has behave so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey, why the black-skinned man has to feel so much pain? Physically and mentally, he is on a strain. What I know is one race, the human race. But prejudice and discrimination takes its place. Your physical appearance and hair texture, causing hate and discrimination with human culture. Institutional racism is a nasty disease. So let's hope and pray one day these things will ease. All you sing it for me. No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No to racism. Respect skin color. No to racism. Let's love each other. No to racism. Stop the racial hate. No to racism. Let's go this way. The human mind has behaved so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey, oh Lord, when you have systemic racism, institutional racism, serious. When a white police officer kneel on a black man, and the whole world in protest had to take a stand, with a slogan saying Black Lives Matter. It's a tragic time in the US and world over. If you're not white, you're classified as colored. And the clear-skinned man think he is higher standard. Nuclear weapons and diseases threatening humanity and racism polluting society. No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No to racism. Respect skin color. No to racism. Let's love each other. No to racism. Stop the racial hate. No to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind has been so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey. It's a system of advantage based on skin that creates violence and cause suffering. It causes division and hate among the human race. Just like COVID-19, race distancing is the case. All kinds of racism must be condemned. Black activists fought this system to the end. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, black civil rights leader, Mandela fought apartheid in South Africa. All you singing? No to racism. It's a heinous crime. No to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. Sing. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. One more time. No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind just didn't so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Yeah. Hey. Hey. Why the black skinned man has to feel so much pain? Physically and mentally he is on a strain. What I know is one race, the human race. But prejudice and discrimination takes its place. Your physical appearance and hair texture, causing hate and discrimination with human culture. Institutional racism is a nasty disease. So let's hope and pray one day these things will ease. All you sing it in for me. No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Let's not discriminate. The human mind does behave so sick. Racism is worse than the pandemic. Hey, oh Lord, when you have systemic racism, institutional racism, serious. When a white police officer kneel on a black man, and the whole world in protest start to take a stand, with a slogan saying Black Lives Matter. It's a tragic time in the US and world over. If you're not white, you're classified as colored. And the clear-skinned man think he is highest standard. Nuclear weapons and diseases threatening humanity, and racism polluting society. No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism. Don't discriminate. The human mind has the answer. Racism is worse than the pandemic. It's a system of advantage based on skin that creates violence and cause suffering. It causes division and hate among the human race, just like COVID-19 Race distancing is the case. All kinds of racism must be condemned. Black activists fought the system to the end. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, black civil rights leader. Mandela fought apartheid in South Africa. All you singing? No, no, no to racism. It's a heinous crime. No, no, no to racism. Take it off your mind. No, no, no to racism. Respect skin color. No, no, no to racism. Let's love each other. No, no, no to racism. Stop the racial hate. No, no, no to racism.
No to racism. Young Bill Rogers starting us off this evening. We're having some technical problems with our guests coming in. We're expecting Rickford Burke and we're expecting Lincoln Lewis to join us. They're having some difficulty. Rickford is here. Rickford is here finally. I don't know what was the holdup. We'll get in and get going in a minute. Welcome you all. I want to welcome all of you down to Politics 101. Please share the link. We are going to be, of course, tonight, Politics 101, and we're going to be talking on one of the hot subjects. And I played that Calypso No to Racism deliberately because the other morning I was on the Guyanese Critic program because following my address at Buxton, my address at Buxton, um, my address at Buxton, my address at Buxton, he accused me of racism, and I called him, and we agreed that I would go on to his program, and I got on. I went on to his program, and I asked him what is his definition of racism. Of course, but I finally figured out what the gentleman was calling racism. You see, I'm critical of the PPP government, and he played several clips of me criticizing the PPP government. And his thing is that I'm critical of the PPP government because the PPP government is Indian. So I am racist. So I point out to the fella that I've been criticizing governments since I was in short pants 40 odd years ago. Of course, he had no answer to that. But of course, the brother, like a lot of sympathizers of the PPP, don't know what the definition of racism is, or they know the definition and pretend that they don't know. And I play this calypso because young Bill Rogers is defining racism there. He talks about skin color and hair texture. And racism is meaning that is given to skin color. So this skin color is given the meaning of inferiority, right? And then people who have power use that power to actualize this definition, this meaning. This meaning, this skin color means inferiority. And then you get power and you use the power to implement policies to actualize the meaning you give to that skin color. That is what racism, that is the definition of racism. The definition of racism is those who believe, a system of belief that one set of people is superior, another set is inferior. That blackness means inferiority, whiteness means superiority. And then when you get power, you use the power to put that definition into meaning. That is why young Bill Rogers Stark talks about institutional racism. And that is why he talks about systemic racism. My brother, the Guyanese critic, of course, is not au fait with that meaning of racism. I'm a black man, and there's an Indian government, and I'm critical of the Indian government, so I'm racist. And when I point out to him that I was critical of black government, of course, there's no answer to that. The definition falls apart. We have a lot of work to do to educate people, those who are plain ignorant. And those who are not plain ignorant, we have a lot of work to do to expose them. I had a good discussion with the critic, the Guyanese critic, I had. Of course, they were alarmed at the messages that came out of emancipation because we're not playing. Good evening to all of you. I was in West Berbice yesterday at Kingley, where the Kojo McPherson people, brother, the brothers up there, Leland Saul, and the people of Kingley, and of course, Brother Lincoln Lewis, they organized an event there. They unveiled a plaque and so on, and we were up there, and I met so many people again from West Berbice. Shout out to all the people of West Berbice. But let's bring in our guest because we're running a little bit late because of difficulties. Let's see what we have here. We have Lincoln Lewis is here with us. When we called him, he was let's see where Rickford is. Rickford, is this you?
This is me. Good afternoon to you. Right. Good afternoon. Good. Lincoln, good afternoon to you.
And Lincoln,
yes. Good evening, Rickford. Hope you're enjoying the weather up there.
Good evening. Good evening to you. Rickford, of course, is coming to us from out there in North America, Brooklyn, and Brother Lincoln on the East Coast. I am on the East Coast of Demerara too, in Guyana. All right, here's why we're here tonight. Some of you would have heard or read that there was a new black organization that was formed, and they had the opening on Friday and the launching of this organization. And, a couple of days before the launch, there were lots of messages going around to back and forth. What is this about? And then the opening was there at Rahamon Park, I think it was. And PPP government ministers and leaders were in attendance. And some man named Andrew Douglas said he came back from America and discovered black people are in trouble and he wants to help black people. So he's going to form this organization. He's going to invite the PPP and so on. Long story short, the PPP is up to their old tricks. They find another Negro. You all know I don't use those terms lightly because I love black people, including black people who don't agree with me politically. I love them. But excuse me tonight if my manners is not too right. They found another Negro. And they've used him to form another organization or an organization. This is the PPP organization. You see, they can't get past black leaders. They tell the world that black people don't follow their leaders and all of that stuff. And we don't have any following and so on. They try to break it, Prodigy. No. They try to crash our emancipation celebrations. No, they had their own celebrations at State House, and we had the president dancing up. David, what's wrong with you? You know what dance is. You grew up in dance. You all know what canker mean? All right. We had the president there, and we had some guests from the African Guyanese community there, and they had their thing because they couldn't crash our thing. They wanted to come to crash the thing in Buxton. And you all know the story. They call up, they come in, the prime minister gonna speak last. I tell the prime minister, we got all right. We're getting some feedback somewhere. All right. I told the prime minister we speakers, so we don't need more speakers. In any case, we don't understand why he's trying to impose himself on us. But if he wants to take the walk in Buxton, he's prime minister, acting president, we can't stop it. And I am a nice guy. I will give him 5 minutes of my time to make remarks. Of course, he didn't come. Buxton is Buxton. And when I announced the thing to the Buxton people tonight, the way they're going is a locked in the man didn't come. Because they might have beat me up. They want to do nothing. They would have beat me up for agreeing for the man to come. So the man cut good card and he didn't come. So they try a thing. They didn't get through. And so on and so forth. So now apparently they decided they're going to form their own black organization. I have deemed it the Eyepass continues. But I'm out of place. As the young people would say, I out of order. So I bring two men who are not out of order to help me to figure out what's going on here. Rickford, let me start with you. You are not out of order like me, right? Lincoln is is a little bit out of order. So I'll start with you because you're not out of order at all. Rickford, what's going on here? When you read this thing, what do you make of it?
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Good evening to the other Lincoln and your audience. I knew it was coming. I was getting feedback all the time. People were feeding me documents, emails, voice messages, tape conversations about what was happening. So I was fully equipped with resources to understand what was going on and to respond the way I did yesterday. And today I got a lot of attacks from PPP persons, but I don't really care. This is not the formation of an organization. This is the execution of a strategy to destroy Ipadaji. Let's be clear. And it is shameful that the slave catchers that they're using in the black community, among the black population, to undermine a black organization that they perceive to be anti-government. This government, and it's driven by Barjack, they don't be fooled, and others. They are upset with Ipadaji because Ipadaji is representing the interests of black people. Ipadaji has evaluated the state of the African Guyanese population in Guyana, the economic genocide, the injustice, and everything else that the African community in Guyana has been experiencing. And they are reporting it internationally. Ipadaji came to the United Nations just a few months ago to report on the decade's activities in Guyana and the state of the black population. Facts that they're taking away our lands, that they're using the police force to crush our rights, that they're attacking us, that they're shutting us out from economic prosperity, that there's no racial justice, that we don't have access to the proper access to the justice system, that they're using the Guyana police force to crush the political dissent, and all of that. And they're upset. The PPP wants to tell black people who must be their leaders, who we must go to for representation. They want to be in competition with everything we do. If you make a report to the UN, we got to make a report to the UN. Why are you friends with Lincoln Lewis? Don't be friends with Lincoln Lewis because he's against the government. Why are you supporting Rickford Burke's program? You can't be friends with Rickford Burke and come to us for assistance. These people think that God died and left them Guyana, and they must determine who must be the players, who must be the leaders, who gets the resources from the country, who benefits from the oil wealth and all of that. And we will not have any of that. And I think that the people that they're using to undermine Ipadiji should be ostracized. I make no apology for saying that. And let me tell you why. You saw what they wanted to do with Ipadiji. As soon as they came in, Barrett started to pick a fight. Oh, they must have an audit. Why they don't go and ask for an audit for the money they give the Indian Arrival Committee, the Eyepass black people? Why they don't go and ask for that? They haven't done that. If you want an audit of all the non-governmental organizations getting resources from the government, then do that. But Barrett Jagdeo came directly after Ipadiji because it's a black organization and it's perceived that the membership supports the opposition. And then he started to say, well, there's corruption. So Vincent published their accounts. Okay, we're not going to give them any more money. Even though his public arguments and attack panned out to be just frivolous nonsense, he still went ahead with a strategy to take away the funding from Ipadiji. Then when they went to court and the Chief Justice ruled that, well, there must be some sort of mediation to determine how the budgetary allocations that were budgeted for Ipadiji should be allocated or dispersed. Then they're like, the Attorney General came up with some legal mumbo jumbo language saying, well, we're going to give the money directly to the people because these black people here who are PNC, God told us they must not benefit from any resources from the country. So after Ipadiji kept going, they haven't, dissolved. They're still executing their programs. The United Nations still recognize them as the representatives for Guyana for the decade of the people of African descent. They're like, okay, now we have to break them up. So what we will do is form all these organizations. So this is what they did. They commissioned a few house Negroes in the society and asked them to go and form little, what they call CDCs, Community Development Committees, all across wherever they can find them. And then they're asking these little CDCs, as they call them, to join with this association of people of African descent. They have no ingenuity. They can't even come up with a name of their own. Or they, by design, want to confuse people with this new organization and Ipadiji. And what ticked me off really is the press statement that they put out. The first line of the press statement, Dr. Hines, reads, let me get it, sorry. So here's the first line of the press release. In Guyana, there's a need for genuine and objective representation of people of African descent. Excuse me? Who are the racists in the PPP to tell black people that we don't have genuine representation? That ticked me off, and I don't want to hear anything else. Because if you want to form an organization, go and form an organization. But why must you attack the black organizations as though we have no values? You and your organizations and all the black organizations they're not genuine? Whose rights are they representing then? Pakistanis? People from Azerbaijan? So this is the PPP. They're always disrespectful of black people and black organizations. And they've changed their strategy. On the Barrett Jagdeo, there was direct racism. Now, because of the international attention, because of the work we all are doing, they're doing it indirectly. Okay, we will get Andrew Douglas, or we will get Wana Jill, or we will get Clifford Hicken, a black house Negro, right, to execute our racist policies. So when we complain, well, the police commissioner is black. Well, the minister of home affairs is black. Well, this person is black. So it's not us, it's the black people. While they're continuing their racist policies. And I think their objective is to divide the country. They want to physically divide that country because they must know that if you try to attack Ipadaji and you divide black people, right, there's going to be a division. So leave black people in Region 4 or something, and you go and live in the Essequibo River or something like that. We as black leaders have to confront the PPP and tell them as it is, expose them, and bring them to a place where they have to come to us and say, how do we govern this country collectively? All of us belong to Guyana. We all Guyanese. The resources, the oil, the money, none of them belong to Barjagdeo. But that's how the PPP is behaving. And they're using these black people, throw little breadcrumbs and give them, and send them out to attack us, send them out to undermine Ipajaji, send them out to undermine ACDA. We will have none of it. And that's why I want to be very clear. No black organization that is genuinely interested in the welfare of people of African descent should join this sham imitation Ipadaji organization. And those who are allowing the PPP to use them to break up black organizations should be ostracized from our community.
Rickford Burke. Brother Lincoln, let me bring you in here. You heard Rickford. This is an attempt to break up Ipadaji or to undermine Ipadaji, to marginalize Ipadaji. What says thou?
Let me start by saying that the PPP is known to be a political party that has an agenda, that if they can't control you, then they will want to find an alternative for you. More so, they have decided already that when black people elect their leaders in whatever organization it is, they will say to the black people in the no uncertain terms, you elect Hines, Bork, not whosoever you want to elect. We going to put the people who we want to manage you. And that's what that's the act that they have. You know, I had a reason a couple weeks ago to start an engagement with a set of guys who consider themselves leaders in the African community. And they walk away with the opinion they started embracing the PPP, in fact, Jagdeo, in fact, in attacking Vincent Alexander, who is who is chairman for Ipadaji. I listened to them, you know, they said to me that Vincent is a politician and Vincent should not be this. I said, that is the PPP talk. I said, what you need to understand, and I need to say tonight, what the black people need to understand very clear. It's not Vincent Alexander they're attacking, or they don't want. What they don't want is Ipadaji for what Ipadaji represents, a collective group of African organization led by strong African men and women. They don't want that. Ipadaji represents the cause of the African community. It represents an agency that stands up and continuously advance that cause. It is not the individual, but see, what they don't want in any organization that can speak with a single voice and purpose against what they're doing. And we must tell them where to get to hell off. You know, there are people, let me start to tell you, you know, tell these people in this country, you guys are being very careful about them. But let me tell you something. You get people on that Ethnic Relation Commission who are part and parcel of this process. There are people in Reparation Committee who are part of it. We have to, let me tell you something, we have to reach to the point where we all know prisoners. Because what these guys are doing is taking us back far beyond what those who we succeeded done. We have to take a stand against it. We can't say that me and you can't be friends or we can't be brothers. When at the same time you're doing things, you're involved in activities to undermine our cause and advance your interest for a cocktail party or some emancipation gathering, some bogus emancipation gathering to say, hey, I'm rubbing shoulders with. These guys are wicked. They're wicked. And this organization, we have to walk across this country. We got to let these people know, David, who these culprits are, and we have to treat with them condemningly. Thank you, brother.
You know, last year when Coffee 250 said that we have an emerging apartheid state, the government get bent out of shape. And they said, we are not South Africa. South Africa had laws. We don't have apartheid laws here. We can't be an apartheid state. These men are crazy. They threaten to lock us up. Now, let me tell you, my dear sisters and brothers in the audience. In 1970, in South Africa, they passed a law creating what they call the Bantustans. And I'm sure Lincoln would remember them. These were what they call black homelands. So they created these things and blacks became citizens of the Bantustans. So they separate black people from white people. And then what they did, they picked some leaders and put them in charge of these Bantustans, these African homelands. So they passed the law making blacks legally second-class citizens in the Bantustans, the homelands as they call them. And then they took their black leaders. I remember one was a bit, Lincoln, you remember Bishop Abel Mazuria? He was what we are seeing, my brothers and sisters, is apartheid, not by law. And that is what I had to tell that man, Nandla, who thinks that he's the brightest man in the world. They're practicing apartheid in Guyana by fact. What they're doing is that they're now reducing black people to these Bantustans. They're turning the black communities into black homelands, and then they're taking their people, their black Negroes, and put them in charge of the homelands. That is what we are seeing before our very face. All right, okay, you are complaining that black people not getting the fair share? All right, good. We're going to fix it. You all want black people to live separately? Good, we're going to fix it. We are going to create alternative black organizations. They're going to create black alternative trade unions. They already have one, the alternative trade unions. They're going to create alternative institutions and put their people in charge. That's what we are seeing here. A very dangerous development. Rickford Burke. Is Rickford back with us here? Let me bring in Rickford, sorry. Lincoln, you can come in the meantime because you will have that institutional memory.
Let me tell you, David. They went so far that they had wanted to give them these homelands their own passport.
Yes, yes, yes.
They had gone to that extent where they want to give them their own passport. But when they get their own passport, you understand me? That this own passport was secondary. They had to conform to the laws of South Africa. That's what they did with them.
Yes. So they
right?
Yes, go ahead, Lincoln.
I'm saying what you're saying there, David, is exactly in principle what the approaches that they do have here. And they've been doing this thing a long time.
Yes.
They're establishing organizations to not rival, but to replace.
Yes.
And because they're in authority, they can go to wherever they are and say, this is the recognized organization. That's how it is. You know, it was only today we were discussing the Christian Labor College. And we all are of the view here that the Christian Labor College, they make the Christian Labor College outside there, they make the argument that is Louis's attitude towards them, that they ain't giving the subvention. But we have concluded, even those who were a bit ambivalent, they say, no, you know what? 95% of the people who come into this college and getting another opportunity, or who may have fell through the crack at the college, they're African people. And to keep us at a certain level of not being what we call lettered, not being too educated, not being able to get on to have tertiary education, they have decided they're not going to give the money here, the subvention. They took it away. And this is what, and the alternative that they have for you, for the Christian Labor College, the programs that let's say something. We get some what we call them, we get some colleges in India and other places. We're gonna give some of you some scholarships to go there, right? They carry the money somewhere else to their friends, and they will collect something behind, cream off some behind the back door. These guys are wicked. They are here with one intent to really destroy our own people, to destroy our people. And we have to stand up. We have to fight back. These men who form this organization, they must be told under no uncertain term that we will not sit idly by and allow them, not the question that, not only that they are trying to replace epology or undermine epology, is that what they are attempting to do is to participate in a process of subjugating the African community, of which we all are part of it. We can't sit down. We can't sit down any longer and just be saying that this thing is wrong, this thing is wrong. We have to organize. We have to mobilize. And as Kenneth Denny would say, that we have to galvanize the people against them. We have to do that.
Yes, brother Rickford, while you were gone for a minute, we were saying that what they are doing in Guyana has precedence. In South Africa, they created these Bantustans. And let me give you all a little bit more history. In the United States of America, during the Nixon era, in the early 1970s, they created something called the Black Capitalist Group as a means of creating alternative to the civil rights organizations. This tactic that they're using in Guyana has been used in segregation in America and apartheid South Africa. My brother Rickford Burke, this is serious. This is not just hodgepodge. As you said in the beginning, this is systemic. Over to you.
It is. And I want to, and that's why I did my show last night. And the content was what it was. Because I want to educate the young people in Guyana who were born in the 80s and the 90s and the even 2000s about what the PPP is all about. The PPP does not believe that Black people and East Indians are equal. They don't believe that. Don't let anything fool you. The people in the PPP have been educated and socialized that way. And so that's the first thing we must recognize. The second thing we must recognize that we are entitled to equality. We are entitled to equality. We are entitled to equal justice. The police force right now, its mandate is to police against Black people. The entire national security infrastructure is being developed against Black people because they feel that at some point in time there's going to be an uprising because of their apartheid policies. And so every single decision they make with regard to national security is against the background that Black people will rebel and they must put them down. They will use their own Black house slaves. That's why they've made that unconstitutional appointment of the police commissioner, because he's their gatekeeper. That's why they've put Blanham at CID. He's their gatekeeper. And if you want to say I'm wrong, let's look at Nigel Darmlao. The police force was mobilized. The justice system was mobilized to protect him from prosecution. Third, as Lincoln Lewis just said, they want to find an alternative to Black leaders of the country who Black people select. The Starbuck News, you know, last Saturday, I had the opportunity to talk with our members of Congress here in New York City. And one of them, to my surprise, told me they just read the Starbuck News editorial from the 2nd of August to commemorate the PPP's 3rd year in office. And every single thing that we have said, that editorial says it. Everything that they say Rickford Burke is misleading the congressman, and I don't know how they know what I tell the congressman, everything has been validated by that editorial. As a matter of fact, Starbuck News even underlined the fact that the opposition in Parliament represents half of the electorate, half of the population, and the government wants to ostracize, marginalize the opposition in Parliament, and in effect, marginalizing half of the population. This is not Rickford Burke, this is not David Hines. This is the Starbuck News, their friend. The Starbuck News is not friendly to the Black population. It is not friendly to the PNC or APNU or the AFC. It is friendly to the PPP. And they have reached a point where they have pointed out that the government is shutting out half of the population. The other thing I want to say is that what they're doing, indeed, you're right. They are taking a playbook, they're following the playbook of the apartheid policies in South Africa. I don't know what Black people did to the PPP. I don't know why they don't think that we belong to society. I don't know why they think that they must cultivate some house Negroes who can be compliant with them, who must submit to them, like Sean Alicock and some of these other people who they're using to subjugate the Black population and to replace Eyepass. And let me say this. I noticed, and these are my friends, I have great respect for Dr. Van Westras, but I must criticize him. It is fine to go to events, state-sponsored events. It is fine to shake the president's hand. I have no problem with that. It is fine to meet and engage with the president. But you cannot do it without representing the interests of the Black population. You can't go to State House and dance with the president and talk about one guy and unity when you're not talking about the Black people who are killed in the PPP genocide. You're not talking about how they're marginalizing Black people, how they're using the police force to criminalize Black people. You have to represent us. You have to represent those young people out there who the police force is brutalizing. You can't go and stand up with Orphanal and Barjani and talk, but one love what? There's no one love with the PPP. They don't love us. So you can go to those events, but when you talk, you must represent the interests of your people, or else you're not a proper leader. I make no apologies for saying that. I am fine with people going to State House. I am fine with people going to meet Barajat there, or Finali, whomever, but represent the people that you claim to lead. If not, you're a failure as a leader. We cannot sit back and talk about forget the past, oh, let us hold hands and sing Kumbaya, when you've murdered 1,400 of us and there's been no justice, when you're using Clifford Hicken and Blanham and the entire police force to criminalize Black people, take away our constitutional rights. We have to speak up. We have to speak up. It is unacceptable. And now, because Ipadiji went to the United Nations and laid out the facts about the conditions of Black people, education, economic, social, and all the other elements. Their response is not to meet with Ipadiji, to say, okay, Ipadiji, these are our statistics, this is our empirical evidence, let us see what you have, where are we falling down? How could we hold hands and move this country together collectively? No. Kill them. If the international community didn't have eyes on Guyana, they would have said, kill Vincent Alexander, kill Olive Sampson, kill Burke, well, they can't kill me because hell gonna break loose. And they can't, let me stop, let me don't go there. But they are not interested in dialogue. They're not interested in meeting with Black leaders. They're interested in ostracizing them, cutting them off, undermining them. They're not part of society. Somebody told me that they were in a meeting in Guyana. Well, you know, they're always after me. The mission, one of the chief missions of the Guyana Police Force and the government is to get Rickford Burke. Every day they're going out soliciting people that I may have criticized and said, come and file a cybercrime complaint against Rickford Burke. Could you make up an allegation against Rickford Burke? Could you give up Rickford Burke? Did he ever do anything for you? That's their mission. That's their mission. The Guyana Police Force mission is to frame Rickford Burke so that they again could write the United States government and say, we want this man. You must catch him and arrest him. That's their goal, not unity. They want to destroy Black leaders who are pointing out that they're racist. They're not interested in unity. Mark my word, the PPP does not want one Guyana because they don't believe that we're equal to them. That's racism, you're defining it. They think that they're superior, and now that they have governmental power, they're using their congenital belief that we are inferior, and they're using government policies, instruments of the state, institutions of the state to execute policies and implement policies that reflect their thinking and their innate belief. That's why we have discrimination. That's why we have marginalization. That's why they're trying to subjugate us. It is innate in them. They don't believe that we're equal and that we are entitled to equality and equity in the country. And we must fight back.
And we are beginning to fight back on Thursday at Buxton with the annual EUC Guyana Emancipation Symposium. We have a number of speakers there under the theme of racial, I'm stressing it and I'm repeating it, racial equality in the age of oil and gas. Racial equality. We're going to have Nigel Hughes there, Vincent Alexander is going to be there, Nigel London is going to be there. I will be there, of course. GHK Lal is going to be there. Simona Brooms is going to be there. We have a big panel that's going to be there, and we're going to start to fight back. We'll continue to fight back because we have been fighting back. And because we have been fighting back, because we have put up barriers against them taking over the Black community, they are now switching tactics, but we onto them. So those of you in Buxton and its environs, come out to the Tipperary Hall, 6:30 on Thursday night. We're going to begin this new phase of our struggle there. And then on Sunday at Critchlow Labour College, Coffee 250 last year said we have an emerging apartheid state. This year, Coffee 250 is saying, let us talk about the one-sided one Guyana, where Black people stand in this one-sided one Guyana. There's going to be a big panel there. Again, we're going to have, I know Nigel Hughes is there again. I'll be there, of course. Brother Paul Slow is going to be there. Brother Kimani Nehusi is going to be on. Their sister Dawn Kush is going to be there. So we have Buxton on Thursday, and then on Sunday, Critchlow Labour College, and we are starting this new phase of our struggle to ensure that the Eyepass of Black people stops. And we want to make it clear, as the brothers have been saying here tonight, we honor you. We honor you. We honor you. Coffee 250 was right. You are an emerging apartheid state.
Emerging? Emerging? We are. They are an apartheid state.
You
Government.
are an apartheid state, as the brother said. And your tactics are coming straight out of the playbook. Straight out of the playbook of the apartheid state in South Africa. Straight out. What you're trying to do is to control Black people. And because the Black leaders are stopping you from doing it, you are now creating alternative Black organizations. You are using some Negroes to do your work, but we honor you. We honor you. And that is why we are saying here tonight, the battle has to be joined in a new way, because they don't mean to stop. And for every action, there must be a reaction. Brother Lincoln Lewis, Rick Ford asked the question just now. What Black people do? What Black people do to deserve this kind of treatment, this kind of attack from the PPP?
Let me make the point. They will, if you recognize that the Ramatar government was less hostile than the Barrett Jagdeo government. Remember, Ramatar succeeded Barrett Jagdeo, but Roy at the time was the general secretary. Remember that. Now, Barrett Jagdeo is the general secretary of the party, and he foisted himself in as vice president, taking control of the commanding heights of the economy. All the economic things that fall on there, financial and economic fall on there. This here is the machinations of Jagdeo. And I'm beginning to believe that when Larger Luncheon went to the Freddie Kesum case, let's go back to it. When Roger Luncheon went to the court and he said that there wasn't any qualified African to become an ambassador. You remember that story?
Yes, I remember it.
All those people were appointed under Jagdeo, government. Remember that?
Yes.
This man intends to marginalize African people in this country to make them grovel. And even some of them, every day this thing happening. Some of them who have crawled and gone here. He humiliates. But it's not that they're ashamed, but if they're still encouraging their friends to go there. You have tapes where the man shouting on a jail. You have tape where the man shouting on a jail. Many of them coming back, the ministers who look black, coming back and talking about the racist things that is involved here, but yet still they remain. And some of us are going something wrong with these men and women who are doing this thing to us. They're too damn selfish. They're too avaricious. And they do not believe in shouting or standing up for what is just and fair. Those who will go and form this African organization and tell people to come and join and they will represent them, because they don't believe in what is just and fair. They believe that when they sell us, they are going to get just reward. But many of us, if you look around, many of these men and women who do it, in the end of time, they don't enjoy it. They themselves just repent. I am saying again, David, listen to what I'm saying. We have to go to the communities. We have to expose these men and women for who they are. They can't continue to sell us for nothing or sell us for something that they are comfortable with. We are Guyanese like everybody, every other race. And we must be able to share in the national patrimony in a just and fair manner. We cannot sit by and allow these things to happen.
We cannot sit by.
I'm telling you, they are in the Ethnic Relation Commission. You have persons there who doing it, person there who doing it. We have persons in the Reparation Committee. All these men know what's taking place, you know. They know that this thing will be launched. They are part and parcel of it. I have had the opportunity to see notes from meetings that these guys are involved in. It's a treacherous group of vipers that we have here. We got to stop them. We got to stop them. We can't allow them to stop the train from moving.
We cannot allow them to stop the train from moving. Sisters and brothers, you all know where I stand. And I stand in between these people and the African people of this country. I have made up my mind a long time what these people are up to. And I'm saying I come from the African community. And I owe it to you all to stand in between you all and those who want to crush you all. I'm very clear about that. I don't care how much racist they call me. I don't care. They can do that from now till the cows come home. I peeped the card a long time ago, and knew what they were doing. And that is why I have started to build barriers by educating us, mobilizing us as Black people. I know that sometimes we're going to need crossover votes. I know all the arguments the politicians are making why they can't talk Black. I know all of that. And when the time comes, I'm going to participate in that. But for now, something greater than crossover vote is happening. And that is the...
Can I make this point to you, David? Let me make this.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me tell you something. This question is not causing talking Black. Let me point out to you, David. This is about what is just and fair. The issue here, let me make this point to all of them who are running around with this government running around and talking nonsense. When the PPP was in wilderness and they claim that workers of this country, when Gao claimed that they were discriminated against under the PNC government, I stood up and I said that their cries must be listened to. Their concerns and grievances must be addressed. That is what we have consistently said, whosoever it is, their concerns and their grievances must be addressed. Tell me honestly, if the community that I come from, crying and said they're being discriminated against, you expect me to sit down and remain silent about it? I have to talk about it. The question is not which community. The question the point I'm making to you is what is just and fair. So who can walk around and say that you're talking black and you're racial, you're racist? And let me tell you something good. Many of them who will tell you, look, the Indian ministers, them when they go there, know where they say, "Oh, I am racial. I get black friends. I get black war. Me teacher the black." But ask them, name 10 of the black friends them what they're talking about. They don't exist. We know them, man. It's only racists just behave that way. Me ain't gotta go out there and tell people that I am I don't have to go here and tell people say I get Indian friends. I get plenty. But I ain't got justified that way. Why I gotta tell you that the cake ain't cutting in a way that me and the community that I come from can share equitably in it. And when the cake, since it can't cut in that way, I'm going to talk, as you say, until the cows come home. I'm going to talk. You don't got to see my face and got to hear my voice. Let me tell your friends them, and know you know them. It's your friends them. You must meet with them. You must eat with them. You must drink with them. Tell them in reparation and what you call them, Ethnic Relation Commission, that if they don't come to terms, I'm gonna call their name publicly. I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna humiliate them. Get your hell off me back. Get the hell off me back. This thing is more serious than having an invitation to a cocktail party hosted by the president or the prime minister or somebody. It's more serious. Me and some of you now, David, some of you write the speech and make the input in the speech for the president and so on. I hear some of your friends them. You tell them that everything that happened behind closed doors just come out, right? Okay? You understand me? We want to know, we know, right? And I want to know that we're going to stand behind the Padaji. We're going to stand with Coffee 250. We're going to stand with Agda, everybody, Pada, everybody. We will not be moved. They can bring what organization they want. We shall fight back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rickford, before I bring in my brother, I just want to say thanks to all the beautiful people. I stopped in for a couple of hours at the PNC fundraiser on Saturday night at Congress Place. They had an oldies there. And I, as a visitor, because I'm not a PNC member, but I went to show my support, and so many lovely people I met there. Very glad to meet you all. So many of you said you saw me for the first time in person, had a little chat. I want to thank I will start manners, and I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Some of you, I can't remember the names because there's so many names to remember. But I remember Sister Yvonne, Sister McPherson, who came up to me, and or greeting moved me. And so I remember you, Sister Yvonne McPherson, if you're on here tonight. Love you, sister. And I love all the sisters and brothers. There were lots of overseas people there. It was so wonderful. And to the beautiful people of West Berbice, it's like my second home now. There in Region 5. Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people. Again, met you. To the lady, one of the Kojo McPherson clan, who reminded me of one program. She said it was a program when Barry Jagdeo went to Plaisance and talked. And then he came out and drove away while the Plaisance people were out there picketing about the 4-lane highway. And I couldn't remember what I said that night, but that lady told me what I said that night moved her so much. One of the Kojo McPherson clan, I can't remember which one, but sister, you made me go back and look at one of my own program. And I did today. And I want to thank you and to thank all the people of Region 5. I know Lincoln don't want me to go and pitch tent in Region 5, but I'm going right at Kingley and pitch tent on the same Kojo McPherson land, because Region 5 is now my second home. Brother Rickford, I know where you stand. There's no doubt about which side of the fence you stand, brother. And I want to thank you. You're a young man, little by for me, as we said. And I want to thank you for the work that you are doing in defense of your country, in defense of the opposition, and most markedly in your defense of African people and Africanness. I want to thank you very much. And brother, I want to ask you whether we're in trouble, but we are never in trouble, because we are a people know how to deal with trouble, but we are up against monsters. Rickford Burke?
Thank you. And I also represent the interests and rights of all people.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, based on what the United Nations has said, it is Black people who are being marginalized and victimized in Guyana, and so we must stand with them. I want to pick up on something Lincoln said. And there's this notion where some of our leaders are scared to talk about equality for Black people because they're scared that East Indians will shun them. I make no apologies. If East Indians, and there are a lot of East Indians who know the government is racist, and they would tell you that, they acknowledge it. And those people must come forward and publicly condemn the government for being racist. Do you want to be supportive of an institution that doesn't see human beings the same way just because of their race? That's my question to the East Indian community. Do you accept the fact that this government must govern on the basis of racial superiority for East Indians only, PPP East Indians only? That's my question. And so, as Lincoln said, this is not a question of speaking Black. This is a question of speaking about equality for everybody, including Black people who have not been treated equally, according to Congressman Jeffries, in accordance with the equal protection provisions of the Constitution. So our advocacy has a basis in the rule of law. People must be treated equally. So whether you are East Indian or Black, you have to speak up for equality. Else you're not a leader, you're a coward. You can't tell me that you can't speak up for equality for Black people because East Indians ain't gonna vote for you. They're not gonna vote for you then, period. So you might as well speak up. If they will not vote for you because you want human beings to be treated equally, and you will remain silent because of that, then you don't deserve nobody's vote. That's my position. So we must examine this issue in the context of equality. We want equality for our people. This government does not believe in equality. I can't stress that more. The government demonstrates through policies, through budgetary allocations, through how they treat the villages and towns. They do not believe in equality. Secondly, we are taking this fight to Washington. Right now, we're waiting on the Congressional Black Caucus for a date when there will be available so we could have the conference on Guyana in Washington. And hopefully you gentlemen can participate. This push by the government now to select some Black leaders to project to the international community that they have Black support and what we're saying is not true and all of that, it has two roots. One, lots of attention is coming to Guyana. You have some politicians here, local politicians, because of all the complaints they're hearing, are mobilizing now to go on a fact-finding mission in Guyana. That's fine. Senator Roxanne Passad, Assemblywoman Monique Walker Chandler, and then you have a Guyanese Assemblywoman, Alicia Hyman. They're mobilizing. But what we have called for is a United States official fact-finding mission to Guyana, made up of senior administration officials from the Justice Department, the White House, and the State Department, along with members of Congress. And we have written to the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, we've written to the Republicans, we've written to the Democrats, and we're waiting for dialogue on that so that they could go to Guyana and they can divide themselves into several groups and go out into the regions and talk with the opposition and talk with the people, talk with the Amerindian communities, talk with Black communities, the people in Buxton, and let them say how they feel about how governance and politics is being conducted in Guyana. So we are waiting for that. We will have it. We will not stop. We are very much opposed to this $12 billion US funding that the government has applied to the US Exim Bank to fund this so-called gas to shore project. It is not that we don't want Guyana to develop. I don't even think that they understand the environmental implications for a gas to shore project. I'm not even sure if it's going to be viable. But this is Barry Jack. They were thinking up what he sees in other countries and pretending that he knows and wants to implement it in Guyana. Be that as it may, Guyana needs a reliable source of power, of energy to power industries. If we're going to develop, we need more industries. Guyana does not have a sustainable, reliable source of electricity. So we need that. We're not against that. What we are against, though, is our taxpayer dollars being used to prop up a racist apartheid government in Guyana by funding this, because Black people will not benefit from this project. And we want Exim Bank to know that. We want our elected officials, we want members of Congress who have that power to hold it up. Just like they could hold up the appointment of an ambassador, appointment of people at the Defense Department, and they could hold up loans from the World Bank and the IMF. We want our members of Congress to block that loan that goes only to PPP East Indians' benefit in Guyana. It can't happen. It cannot. We cannot have our taxpayer dollars propping up a racist PPP regime in Guyana, or else we will hold our elected officials accountable. The other thing I want to say is that there's a movement now in the United States to hold the Biden administration accountable for being so cozy with a racist government in Guyana. We have people in Atlanta, people in Philadelphia, people in Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, saying to the Democratic Party, we can't support you if you can't stand up for us in Guyana. You have the Secretary of State who is aware of the atrocities by Barry Jagdeo and the PPP regime against Black people, went to Guyana and did not raise one concern that Americans of Guyanese heritage have been raising with the State Department. It is outrageous. It is an insult to the entire African American community in this country. Tony Blinken doesn't have to face the voters, but Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have. They have to face the voters. And at some point in time, we will make sure we put people in the audience when the election campaign comes around to ask either one of them, who I have great respect for and I will help in the re-election effort, why it is they are propping up a racist government and have not been holding this government to account and buying into the misinformation that lobbyists and probably the American ambassador have been sending up the chain into the State Department. So we are in a very precarious situation in Guyana as a Black community. The opposition doesn't have lobbyists. The embassy is not fair to the opposition. And they're using this excuse about free and fair elections. The American embassy has no moral authority to tell Black people in Guyana or the PNC about free and fair elections, because the president that appointed Sarah Ann Lynch ambassador to the Republic of Guyana is currently indicted for election fraud. So Sarah Lynch has no moral authority to talk about election integrity in Guyana. Now, I like what I see happening in West Africa, where you had a coup in Niger and all of those African countries in ECOWAS coming together to talk about restoring democracy in Niger. What we need to do is look at that strategy and start to mobilize the Black citizens of the Caribbean. We need a mission to the Caribbean. Go all across the Caribbean, and we might need resources for it. Go to all the Caribbean nations. Mobilize support among the nationals, among the people, to pressure their government to look into what is happening in Guyana. And then we in the diaspora here, in Canada and the United Kingdom and the United States, will do the same with our elected officials. And let me say this about CARICOM. CARICOM historically has been anti-Black Guyanese. CARICOM's headquarters is in Guyana, right in the middle of the epicenter of the war against Black people, even during the Jagdeo administration, where Jagdeo's government formed death squads that killed hundreds of Black people. And CARICOM said nothing. I despise that organization. It's a waste of time. So we can't depend on CARICOM. CARICOM has no interest in the Black people of Guyana, and that is because they buy into the PPP narrative that everything is fine and there is equality. And those Black people in the CARICOM secretariat, no, what is happening? They live there. They live there. But they don't want to be attacked by Barjab. They don't want to be attacked by the PPP. But when the coalition government was in power, they feel free to talk. All these CARICOM governments could talk. But they want to be friends with Barrett and all of them, Mia Mottley and all of these people who are betraying Black people. Right? So we have to find a way to confront this government. It is not okay for us to sit down and wring our hands and say, oh my God, this government is racist, they're ostracizing me, they're marginalizing, subjugating me, and not do anything. We can't. We have to mobilize the international community, just like Barry Jagdeo, a war criminal, an international crook, mobilized, rehabilitated his image as a killer, because he has been accused of that by forming these death squads. He's been accused of that. I have not tried him and proved him guilty, but he's been accused of that. And the world knows that his government, his cabinet, participated in the activities of the death squads. His Minister of National Security had to resign. The US government presented evidence in a court of law in Brooklyn. I was sitting in that courtroom where the United States government presented evidence that Bart Jagdeo's government participated in death squad killings. And we allow him to go and stand with people in the international community as if he has some moral authority to pronounce on morality, pronounce on justice, pronounce on the rule of law, all of which he violated as president. We can't allow that to happen anymore. We have to mobilize the international community just like they did against the PPP government. And that's my charge to the diaspora, the people at home, and Guyanese everywhere.
Lincoln Lewis.
Let me tell you, gentlemen, there come a time that we ought not to be mincing words any longer with these guys. These guys are on a process of exterminating Black leaders in whatever form or in whatever way possible. While we have to protect ourselves and live for the revolution, we have to be very strategic in dealing with the people who are near us, who can harm us. And that's a message to those who are part and parcel of the current process to destroy Ipadaji and other organizations because of what and who they represent. I want to say thank you to the audience, the listeners tonight, the very good audience. And I want to implore upon you that we need to hold hands in this process of redemption. This is not one love for me, but those who want to sing one love, I will keep singing, but I will not be holding hands. We have to move on, David. Rick Ford, it's a pleasure sharing the platform with you. Let us get it on. Thank you.
Dr. Hines, if I might just say one thing quickly. Yes. I just got a message from a PPP member. Come to Guyana, let me deal with you. Listen, it's like you meeting me in the mall and we have a confrontation. You want to fight me. Say, listen, why don't you come to my house? Let me fight. Why, if you want to come and deal with me, come where I am and deal with me. Why I got come to you? If you have a problem with me, come and deal with me here. I don't have to go to Guyana. What's the reason I go to Guyana? You have a problem with me. And you see, this is the thing that we tolerate. We tolerate this thing. Come, let me deal with you. Come to Guyana, let us jail you. Come, try that. Let me have a big international incident. I mean, these people think that they're so powerful, even if they follow us. They can't debate us intellectually. The facts and imperative evidence are not on their side. So now they're gone to violence. Come, let me deal with you. We're going to kill you. We're going to jail you. I can take the PPP on any time, me alone. I have the international backing to deal with them. But I don't have to go to Guyana. Why I must come to you? You want to deal with me? Come where I am. Don't tell me come to your house, let me deal with you. Yeah, you and a man got to fight on the road. And you going to tell me, why don't come by me street, then let me fight? Nonsense. And I want to put it to rest. I'm not scared of the PPP. I'm not scared to go to Guyana. I don't have any reason to go to Guyana. But I'm not scared to go to Guyana. And I'm not scared of the PPP. I haven't committed any law. I'm not a criminal. Go look for the criminals that thieving money every day in the government, that's sending gold abroad, that money laundering. Those are the ones you need to tell those kinds of things to. Me and Frank Nalio.
Lincoln Lewis, thank you all so much for coming through at late notice. We're going to continue to cover this throughout this week. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Henry Jeffrey, who's going to be here. We'll pick up the coverage with him tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday night, Ipadaji is going to be here. So we have a busy week. Thank you all, brothers.
Thanks for having
me. And to you, the audience, thank you all so much. The love is persistent. We're going to win this thing together. It's not the first time They're trying to get us out of the human family. But we are human beings, and we're not going anywhere. We're Guyanese, we're not going anywhere. We built Guyana along with others, we're not going anywhere. Now that Guyana is going to be flushed with plenty, we are here to demand our fair share, and we're going to get our fair share. No matter how many alternative organizations they form, they're not going to, in the end, reduce us to second-class citizens. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you all tomorrow night when we come again to continue our struggle. Henry Jeffrey tomorrow night.
If you hear that, black is beautiful. Santa Claus. Black is beautiful. It's the texture of lift your